Let's give Nathan a big hand.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and good morning. It's great to be here in Singapore. And it's not okay. So actually, I'm going to get to that right away. I was asked for this first keynote speech to wake everybody up, and that's what I'm going to do. I did prepare something, but what I usually do is I ditch my draft the same morning as I have my speech, and I did the same. I'm doing the same here today. I read the newspaper this morning, and I was like, oh my God, there is so much going on. So let's talk about what's really going on. I'm going to start with a note saying that I'm going to talk a bit about politics, which is like a big no-no in these conferences because you want to hear about tech and growth rates and stuff. But let's talk about politics. What does politics mean? No, politics comes from a Greek word that is the people together, no? Community, society. And immediately we realize that we as a blockchain community, we're actually, all of us are politicians because we care about how we regulate society. I'm reading a newspaper, I'm reading about Hong Kong, no? Like, how can you not read about Hong Kong? There's so much going on in Asia. It's such a moving place, and it's very diverse. And it's great to be in Singapore, which is the heart of Asia. So, what's driving blockchain growth in Asia? As the CEO just has pointed out, what are the drivers? Well, Asia, compared to the United States, compared to the European Union, is fragmented and it's diverse. So fragmented is bad, diverse is good. And where does blockchain come in? Blockchain has the ambition, and we in this room have the ambition to use blockchain technology and decentralized technologies to lower the frictions that we see in Asia based on this diverse and fragmented society that we have. So, where is it fragmented, diverse, and where is the friction? I'm going to cite Mamit, talking about use cases. Mamit, my friend at Emergo. Yesterday we had a little discussion about the use cases of blockchain, because we all have to ask each other, where do we actually use blockchain for real? What is really going on? And Mamit corrected me, and I'm thankful for that, to say the payment use case, which is, let's call a spade, Bitcoin, is not the first use case to take off. Who has bought his last pizza paying in Bitcoin? Nobody here, no? You don't pay for pizzas in Bitcoin. You actually don't do that. So where are the use cases? Where are the decentralized solutions that lower friction across Asia? The way I see it, it's a subject to discussion, is number one is really supply chain and supply chain management. And that's where we have a high number of players, many big ones, and the immense number of small ones that interact not on a daily basis but on an hourly basis. And the issue of trust, trusted, trustless, shows up first of all in this massive net that's the global supply chain. And here in Asia and here in Singapore, we really see why the heart of the supply chain is here. You got the factories, you got the ports, and you got the malls. So and then of course next door we have Malaysia. So we got from agriculture, that's food supply chain, to the factories where stuff is being produced, to the ports where stuff is being shipped all over the world, to the malls where you buy an iPad that was the components produced in Singapore, in Japan, in Korea, everything shipped to China, assembled, then reshipped, and it ends where? In a mall in Singapore. So that's where supply chain management on a blockchain comes in. That's the friction. There's so much friction there, and I think many of you have worked in these industries. You know how friction is the daily life. Second use case is identity. And the CEO of just mentioned APAC. No, I mean, we're all aware of APAC. Who in here has an APAC travel card? I think, Mami, do you have one? No? Okay. So there's actually a thing called APAC travel card that's about 20 years old, where the APAC members got together, and that does include Taiwan, and said, we need to decrease the friction of identity when it comes to traveling. And the APAC travel card was created, which allows, again, in unfortunately not a unified but rather fragmented way, to easily travel between APAC countries for residents and nationals of APAC countries. Did it take off? Do you guys have a travel card? No, you don't. But that's where identity on a blockchain comes in. You may have seen the news that the World Economic Forum has this ongoing project now starting with a pilot case between Canada and Netherlands for travel documents, let's call it a passport, on a blockchain online that solves the privacy issues when traveling. So why is this happening between Canada and the Netherlands? It should be happening in Asia, and that's why we're here. So this is a use case. And we've tried, in Asia, we've tried for 20 years to crack this nut. We haven't cracked it yet. The third and the fourth use cases where I see blockchain can immediately do something is health and health data. And you all know that medical travel is a big business in Asia, in different countries. And I think many of you have traveled to get medical attention because it was cheaper, because it was better quality. And we all know how medical data get transferred between countries and between hospitals. They don't. They just don't. Yeah. Why? Correctly so, because there's privacy concerns, there's technological barriers, and we in Asia can do better. Yeah. The fourth use case, the way I see it, is IoT, which is a very, very, very large term, very broad term, and within IoT, mobility. So when it comes to smart cities mobilities, and here Singapore is a leader in this space. You in Singapore have had toll fees on cars for, I think, 15 years? You're actually, if I remember correctly, you were the first jurisdiction in Asia to have automated toll fees on cars and congestion control. So this is where blockchain comes in, because you want to have a trusted solution that ensures your privacy and ensures the trust between many, many people in this solution. That is, mobility, getting you from A to B, involves a lot of people. And it involves money, and it involves trust. And you don't need the government to know where and when you travel. You just need to pay your fees. Yeah. So these are four big use cases where I see Asia has the friction and has the potential to actually do what we call leapfrogging. No, it's a very old term. Leapfrogging. We've seen that term a lot used in Asia and notably, of course, in China. But yeah, I'm not going to use the slides. So leapfrogging, and it has been done, and Singapore has done it, and Asians have done it before. So let's leapfrog. So what happens in Asia, and why is the growth so high in Asia, is because both the people and the governments in Asia have recognized both the threat and the opportunity to now do this in order for the next travel document pilot case not being done between Canada and Netherlands, but being done in Asia. And that's why we have seen partially welcoming policies from different countries in Asia. And then, of course, Singapore is one. Japan is really working on it. Japan is a larger market, so it's heavier to regulate. It's not so easy, and that's normal. With size, you lack flexibility. But Japan is doing its part, and the Japanese government is doing its part. You see Taiwan, which is also trying to move forward. You see Hong Kong, which is also trying. Of course, with China next door, or Hong Kong being a part of China, it's a bit harder. So does China maybe miss an opportunity to leapfrog? And of course, you're going to quickly say, and I've heard that many times, oh, China only excludes and prohibits cryptocurrencies and tokens, but it promotes blockchain. Well, we all know that's not that simple to take the two apart. Yeah. So question mark there. So the governments have recognized the chance. Back to blockchain and supply chain management. Who in here has heard of the WTO Doha Round? I think some of you, maybe some of you are literally too young. So the WTO Doha Round was the idea to have a second round then and lower trade frictions worldwide and notably in Asia. And it never happened. No, the second round after Doha never happened. And then what came? Then Obama came with his, what was it called? The Trans-Pacific Agreement. That got shut down for US domestic reasons. Where are we now? We're nowhere in lowering these trade frictions. So it's up to us, the crypto space, the blockchain space, to seize that opportunity and talk to our own governments and say, let's do this, let's move forward. Yeah. I'm not even going to talk about the trade war, yeah, because the trade war is only showing the problem. And blockchain is a potential solution to that problem of friction between governments. Yeah. Let's talk about Singapore quick. Singapore is our host here. It's really great to be here. I'm not here often enough. And every time I'm here, it's just amazing. So Singapore as a sandbox, or the sandbox in Singapore. Actually, Singapore is the blockchain sandbox of Asia. So that's why we see this growth, no? Because Singapore has been very strong, and I'm Swiss by origin, so I'm going to always compare Singapore to Switzerland. And the first Singaporeans I met 20 years ago when I came to Asia, they actually said, you know, in Singapore we tried to copy the Swiss for this and that because it's a small country, no natural resources, big brothers like left and right, what do you do? And that's how the Singaporeans looked at Switzerland. And so I see this parallelism ongoing. And when it comes to the blockchain space, the fintech space, in Singapore, the Singaporean government has been very strong at doing the same thing as the Swiss government has done, which is take the hands off and let the companies and the people, the community, do their thing. And so this is actually the winning recipe in policy. Regulatory policy for blockchain is not to be quick and fast like New York. Well, that didn't work out. But to take the hands off and let the people do. And here I'm going to do another sort of policy/culture. We've heard of trade wars versus culture wars, clash of civilizations, the book, the recent reference in the US politics. Big question mark, is it a clash of civilization? I think it's not. But what is true in Asia is that if you let the people do their thing, they will work. And they will do their thing. And everybody in here who has kids or is planning on having kids, in one way or the other, you only have one goal in Asia is you want your kids to have a better life than yourself. That's number one in Asia. And you could argue this is not a civilization thing. It's a worldwide thing. So let the people do and let the governments, let's ask our governments in Asia to let us do our thing. And that's how we're going to lower that friction and how we're going to move forward and make a better life for our kids. I don't know what that was. So the drivers are really do business. We all want to do business. We want to transact. We want to transact. In life as humans, we are transactional and social animals. We want to do stuff. We want to trade. As soon as the first farmer had some potatoes, or I don't know what they had in Africa, they wanted to trade because somebody else wanted your potatoes and you had potatoes and somebody else had water and you started to trade. So let us trade, and that's what the blockchain is for. The freedom to act, to transact, and generate a better life. Faster, cheaper, with less friction. That's the promise. Let's work on it. Thank you very much.